tell me a little bit about what we have here.
Well, right here, why not start where the beginning is, right? The foundations of our company. I kind of previously mentioned that Nationwide Insurance started as the Farm Bureau Mutual Automobile Insurance Company in 1926. So, hey, we're almost 100 years old. So we have a lot of history here, right? I know a lot of our newer employees might not quite understand our connection to the farming or agricultural community. And we started as a part of the Ohio Farm Bureau, which a lot of people might take for granted. It's just one of those little organizations that's been around since 1919. That's a very long time ago. But the whole purpose of them, back in that time period, farmers did not have a voice in government, in the banking system. They did not have money. They was not able to get loans in the bank. You know, their food supplies, there were no subsidies or no really price controls on their product. So they're just really they're having a very hard time getting their voice heard. So that's why these Farm Bureau organizations started up all throughout the country.
Not as many lobbyists like we have today.
Exactly, exactly. And to your point, like they had a huge lobbyist function of the Ohio Farm Bureau. So what does that have to do with our insurance company? Well, by the time period of 1926, a new innovation has come upon us, our American culture, and that would have been the automobile. At that time period, that's when people actually could start affording the car. And farmers especially were starting to use those vehicles for trucking their farm produce to other areas to sell their product. So very quickly, the Ohio Farm Bureau saw a great need for the farming community. They, number one, didn't quite understand insurance, but number two, we had to convince them to use their hard-earned money to purchase insurance, which is something that will save their business at the end.
Sure.
So we started in 1926 with the auto insurance company. We offered farmers a lower rate than other insurance companies because our farmers traveled less often, they were on rural roads, and they weren't getting as many accidents. So they were very low risk people, and we were able to offer them a better rate. And so this is just an example of many of the things that we have in our museum. There's actual photographs. This is an enlargement of something that's in here. This is Ezra Anstadt. This is our first employee, first agent, and first policy holder of the company, and he's signing his policy, I want to say April 14th. Don't quote me exactly on that. I'm a historian, so I like exact dates. April 14th, 1926, he's signing a very first
So we're
policy.
coming up on the anniversary then.
We absolutely are.
That's awesome.
So this is perfect timing
Yeah,
that you chose to come here. That's wonderful. But we also have other documents, and here we have one of our early applications for an insurance policy here, and then we have other materials kind of about our first presidents and kind of their farming backgrounds and why farming is so important to the very beginning of our business.
Excellent. Well, let's go see something else.
Let's go.
Okay. So what do we have here?
Well, this is our touchscreen that we have here in the museum, and this is a great time to mention that our area is open all the time. So people can come in. We have conference rooms in here, so if you ever do get to come to the office, you can come in at your leisure and be able to look at things. This touchscreen actually shows some historic commercials. And I know one of many people's favorites, and some people might not remember, but some famous celebrities were in our ads a while ago. So can anyone remember this one?
Stop. Hammer time. You can't touch this. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we living it, you know?
Life comes at you fast. Nobody helps you get ready like Nationwide. Investments, retirement, insurance.
Nationwide is on your side.
Now, I wish that we could use genie pants and bring that back again. But
I know, I wish too. A lot of people ask me if we have MC Hammer pants in our archives collection. We don't, because at the time period, MC Hammer was actually going through a bankruptcy. So it was written specifically in his contract that he got to keep all the clothing from the commercial. This is one little tidbit.
That's excellent.
But yeah, a lot of our commercials, we might not think about it, but our commercials and ads is a historic artifact of our company.
Sure.
And it's very telling of our personality, our brand, our our goals, our mission, how we're talking to our customers, and what products we're offering at what time period. So these commercials are not only fun to watch, but we use them as historians to collect information and data, really to get the historical timeline and outlook of how Nationwide talked to our customers throughout history.
Absolutely, and a lot of us, I mean, our first experiences were through the commercials and through advertising. So that's really neat. So tell us a little bit more about branding.
Well, our brand is very special to us. It's one of our greatest assets. A lot of people know us by the Inn and Eagle, but maybe people don't really know how old the Inn and Eagle is. The Inn and Eagle actually was introduced in 1955 when we changed our name from the Farm Bureau Mutual Automobile Insurance Company to Nationwide Insurance. Simple, nice.
Yeah.
So with the new name, we needed, of course, a new look and a new brand, and that's where the Inn and Eagle was established. However, it was not blue. It was originally this orange color. However, if you think about it, in 1955, a lot of print ads is how we're advertising, and in a black and white newspaper, you see that bright, brilliant orange color. It pops out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
wow.
So that's kind of why they use that.
Uh-huh.
So the Nationwide name came about literally because we were wanting to sell our products and services across the country, nationwide. Up from 1926 to 1955, we were very much a regional insurance company. We were primarily kind of on the East Coast, a little bit in the Midwest, but our big aspirations was to sell to everyone. And so Nationwide Insurance was chosen. Our eagle, which I almost gave it away, but do you know his name?
Not sure.
Our eagle has a name, and it is Nate. Nate the eagle.
Yes. Like
Yes.
Nationwide.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
And actually, there was it was a company-wide contest, and all of associates could put in their idea of what a new name could be. And so it was chosen out of a selection of everybody's, guesses of what they would like, and Nate was chosen.
Wow.
And I believe the participant got, I think he might have got, I don't remember, $200 or $500 for his name to be chosen.
Not bad.
And Nate the Eagle, and I point up here because that is what Nate looked like back in 1955. Don Cotner, he worked in our, he was an art director in our creative services group. He created the cartoon because we wanted something fun and friendly to be published in our employee newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
And today we have Inside, we have SharePoint, we have all of our online services, but back in the day that was all in newspaper and magazine form. And so imagine a fun cartoon eagle on our SharePoint and Inside pages today. I'd love to have Nate back, but that was his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we used Nate up until about the 90s. And then he kind of went out of favor because everyone got very business oriented and serious. I would like to bring some fun back.
Right.
Let's ask for Nate to come back. And then to my left, of course, I have to acknowledge the Nate costume. Over the decades, many Nate costumes have been created. This is our most recent one, about the 2013-14 time period. And he would go to baseball games, hockey games, and I have a photograph in our exhibit here of a very kind of a larger Nate, bumper Nate, from a baseball game in the 1980s.
Probably ate too many hot dogs.
Probably, and I don't blame him because I would too. But anyway, that's just a little bit of the story of our Inn and Eagle. It's not just a logo, but it's a character.
Wow, really neat. All right, well, let's go see something else.
Okay.
All right, so tell us about this room.
Well, we have to talk a little loud in here because this is our storage room. We have an HVAC system that is on 24 hours a day. It keeps a constant humidity and temperature because that's the best thing for old records. And we have all kinds of things. We have paper, we have wood, photographs, film, all kinds of things. And that's really good advice for anyone with their own personal archives at home. I'm sure people keep things in their basements or attics. You just don't want things to be too dry and hot and nothing too wet because that'll make it, you know,
Fall apart in a second.
Exactly. And then insects, you have to worry about that too. So this room here has its own fire suppression system also. It's redundant because we have the building fire system and then this also has its own fire system. And these handy dandy shelves back here, well, they move.
Wow.
And
That's neat.
most people on my tours will forget everything I said, but will remember these. It really makes me jealous. But these will automatically open if it detects fire to let the water go through all the records. And I know that sounds scary because it's like, how can you get wet records back again? There's actually like a freeze drying method that returns paper to about 90% of their originalness.
Yeah.
So there is some methods you can, a wet record is better than burned up
no record at all.
Exactly. And so a part of my job is to take all the boxes and files over time and organize it into pretty boxes, something like this. That's acid-free boxes, acid-free folders. Everything's cataloged into our database, keyword searchable.
It's like an email you got there.
Yes, exactly. Emails are history now,
That's right.
Everyone texts or something else. But I make sure we know where everything is. And then we got to keep our records good so that in the future archivists will be able to find what I did. Because I use the records of our past archivists to find things from earlier. And on the table here, I just laid out a couple things that you can find in the archives. I should have my gloves on, forgive me. But some of our very delicate things, the oils on your fingers, when you handle it a lot, can actually damage the paper, so you have to be careful. Earlier I was talking about that amazing logo that was revealed in 1955. That's what it looked like.
Really neat.
But that orange color, technically it was called not quite coral. Pantone colors didn't exist in 1955. But that's valuable to keep. Also, something else to keep in mind is we have to go to court sometimes to legitimize the history of some of our products and services. So some other insurance company or anybody else wanting to use our jingle on your side, which some have wanted to do, our lawyers come to us and say, help us prove that that's really
Original document.
Yes.
Okay.
And as you can see,
Some of the stuff here.
right here I have the original jingle music sheets.
Oh my God.
And this has helped to prove that this jingle is ours legally.
Wow.
Here's another music sheet. Our jingle writer was Steve Carmen. And Steve Carmen, here's his CD of music.
Just jingles. When jingles were king.
He actually was a very famous jingle writer, and I am dispelling a myth right now. Everyone thinks, what's his name? Barry Manilow wrote our jingle, and that's not true. I'm saying that right here. Steve Cartman. But he wrote really famous things like the Double Mint, Gum, Budweiser Beer, I Love New York. Like, if you grew up in the 70s or 80s, you would have heard his jingles.
I'm just thinking of like Andy Bernard in the office going through like, break me off a piece of that fancy piece.
Yes. So we had an amazing jingle writer. It's a goal for us because our jingle has pretty much stayed the same since the late 1960s when it was introduced. So also on the table we have artifacts, like these interesting things. Do you have any idea what this might have been used for?
Bicycle?
Oh, bicycle, that's a good idea. Actually it was a car tag.
Okay.
So like back in the day, you get little stickers to put on your car to say, I'm insured by Nationwide Insurance. Well, back in the, and this is the old logo, Farm Bureau Mutual, so this would be pre-1955.
Wow.
You would get, your agent would have presented this with you and said, okay, put this on your car to make sure everyone knows you're insured by us. There's some even older car tags. Now this is like from the 1930s, I would say.
Wow.
Which is very thin aluminum, but we have tons of stuff in here.
I wish they would bring that back, so then you know who's insured and who's not.
I know, exactly. It would be pretty nice.
Excellent. Well, let's go see what else you guys got.
Okay.
Now, who's this guy?
Well, some people may remember Fabio, others this might be a new character for you, and you can Google it. Back during the Life Comes At You Fast commercial campaign that you saw with the MC Hammer commercial, we also had Fabio, who was a well-known at the time model. He was on romance novel covers, and then he kind of got a funny little following and was featured in a lot of commercials at the time. And so for our commercials, he was his model, beautiful self in Italy, and he goes under a bridge because he's on like a gondola. And when he comes out the other side, he turns into a really old man really fast. And the whole point is life comes at you fast. So are you prepared for whatever life's gonna, happen to you? So this is the strangest artifact we have in the archives, and that is because I asked for all the advertising material. Sometimes it's hard to get the records that you need.
Yeah.
And
Just like we saw with MC Hammer in the pants.
exactly. I asked for, some of the Life Comes At You Fast campaign materials, and I was sent this head instead. This is Fabio. It's the bust that the artists had to make to create and sculpt the prosthetics that he used as an actor to be the old man in the commercial. So since that's all I got for that series of commercials, I thought, well, I better keep it in the archives to help tell the story. And I know Fabio was very popular in the past. He actually came to Nationwide and visited, and there's some associates that I have pictures of them in the archives visiting with Fabio. But he was just one of those celebrities that were featured in some of our commercials in the past. And the oddest thing, and yes, he upstages me all the time during my tours. So I thought I'd better let you guys see him.
Very neat. So what do we have here?
Well, here is one of my favorite exhibits. It is about, I call it Trailblazers, African American Insurance Agents. It kind of tells a story of what were the opportunities for African American people in the 1970s time period. And I'm seeing in our archives, we have a lot of magazines that were totally printed for our agents at that time period. And so it celebrated all the achievements of agents, it showed their new offices, it talked about who the new agents were, who were the top producers, all kinds of news that our producers would share. Well, I took an interest in really wanting to understand, well, where are African American people represented in that time period? And so I scanned through hundreds of papers. And this exhibit I have in each little square that you'll see is an article that features an African American person, men and women, as agents. And I recognize that they represent about 5 to 7% of the general agent population of that time period. And I know it was a topic of that time because it was right after the Civil Rights era of the 1960s. And no company, history shows us, and we know it, nobody's perfect at all, and strides continue to be made.
Oh yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about with this exhibit was that Nationwide was aware of it and had an open conversation about it. And I have a story in this exhibit of Nick Fortson, who was an African American agent, and there's a whole article about him and Nationwide asked him, what are your thoughts about African Americans in this industry? How can we do better? How can we talk about it? How can we get everyone to be more aware?
So we were starting that conversation back then.
Yes,
wow.
yes. And I just love seeing all the examples presented in this exhibit, and just seeing all the achievements and the celebration of diversity. Of course, everyone has further to go, but to talk about it, that's the first step. Let's continue to talk about it, because Nationwide has that open, transparent dialogue that we had way back in the 60s. And so we can continue that forward and make ourselves better.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mandy, for having us today. Hopefully when you guys are back in the office or downtown, you stop by the Nationwide History and Archives and learn about where we came from as a company and a culture, and all the things that we're doing today to keep up with all the changes going around. Thank you very much, and have a great Wednesday.